Hello, everyone watching. Thank you for joining us for this Ink and Panel session, where today we're going to be talking about how to build a portfolio. My name is Bria Struthers. I'm going to be moderating this conversation with our amazing panelists that you see here. And before we start, I'm going to pass it over to each of them to just introduce themselves and their work. Anybody want to go first?
Stephanie.
My name is Stephanie Williams. I am a comic writer. You may be familiar with some of the stuff I've done. Nubia of the Amazons, Nubia Queen of the Amazons. More recently, Temporal, Roots of Madness, and Street Sharks.
Nice. Since Greg is drinking, I'm gonna go next. Marcus Williams, aka Marcus the Visual online. If you've seen art, I'm a character designer, comic artist. Done children's books, all that good stuff. Overall creative, but it's mostly just I'm stuck to characters because I think all the stories and things that I think are cool kind of start with characters. But foray into writing, I just did I Lie Popeye, which is a reboot of Popeye the Sailor Man. I have to say that every time I get around Black people, they're like, "You talking about Popeyes?" No, not the chicken franchise.
Whoa.
Popeye the Sailor Man. But it's weird because I actually do have to say that. I'm like, I would work with Popeyes if they asked me. But yeah, I got to write and draw that reboot. It's really cool. So I've worked in animation, got to work on a cartoon as lead character designer for Young Love. I was on Max. So, and I'm doing a comic with that guy, independently published comic called Tuskegee Airs, Flames of Destiny. So we co-write and I do the art for that.
Who's next? Me next?
Greg, you want
I'm next. Yeah, so Greg Burnham, I am a writer. I suck at art. I like to make that known because people will be like, "Yo, how much would you pay? Would you charge to write stuff? I mean, to draw?" And I'm like, "Yeah, get away from me." So yeah, I have recently gone into editing, like real comic book editing. So I'm actually the editor on a project called Spirit, the Woman of Hope, by our good friend Harold Pete, who's like he just got all these great ideas. I'm just kind of like there to be like, yeah, no, yeah, mostly yes. Also write with Marcus on Tuskegee Airs. I have a book called The Search for Sadaka that actually releases. Well, it'll be out by the time this comes out, but it's releasing next week. Rosarium Publishing. I've done some stuff for DC Comics, for Milestone, and other stuff. A lot of writing. And I guess I got to mention the Noir's the New Black, Little Rock Files, which I'm doing with Fair Square with Quinn McGowan. But it's a lot of stuff. I'm going to be quiet.
Thank you. Last but not least.
I believe that's me.
Mm-hmm.
I am I'm a disembodied voice. I know my camera's not on, but my name is AJ Ampadu, and I'm a comic book writer. I am also the founder of Earthtone Kingdom Comics, where I have written and published comics like Kimmy Cosmic, my space cowboy comic, and my horror book Dragon Face. I also currently write for Valiant Comics, Alien Books. First Black man to write Shadow Man, so we are writing Tales of Shadow Man right now. Also written characters like Ninjak and some other things. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you. And thank all of you for sharing. I am really, really geeked because as someone who's just come across all of your work in like the indie space, as well as like around other publishers, I feel like this is a really exciting conversation to have. So the first question that I actually wanted to ask is, because of all of the work that you've done, you've all probably had your own experiences with building a portfolio, compiling of your work and stories. What do you feel like stands out in your own portfolios when people look at it, when they look at examples of your work? Pass it to whoever.
No, I'm not going first. Greg, you go first.
We'll pass it to someone else as you went first last time.
I think what I consistently see standing out is number one, like Tuskegee Airs, because Marcus and we built that whole thing ourselves. You know, like we had like some help with coloring a little bit, but I'm saying like the whole vision, so they can see that um, I'm not like just a fill in the blanks guy. And I can say Marcus isn't just a fill in the blanks guy. We can build the entire thing. So Tuskegee airs. The search for Sadaka actually got me an agent, which I'm no longer with. Thank you. But yeah, like that got me an agent and had me like signed to an agency and all that because they read that one. And then Little Rock Files has done some crazy things too, as far as like helping me get like it's helped me get a couple of industry jobs. I got to sit, you know, I know this might sound small to some people, but I got to be on a panel with like a digital panel with Walter Mosley for a college, and like that's, you know, Devil in the Blue Dress is like my favorite. Like so that's like crazy, but like so those kind of things, and even when I went and started like doing stuff with DC, like one of the things they were like, we know about you guys. We saw you guys because I was like, why y'all never called us, you know? And they were like, well, we seen you guys. We see how you get down at conventions and all that kind of stuff, and you guys are thriving. So we figured you didn't really want us or need us. And I'm not gonna say like Marcus is shaking his head. I'm not gonna say we ever got into it because we were looking for them, because we weren't. Were we? We was like, we're going to tell our own stories and do our own stuff. But when they see that you can build things without like guidance, I think that that really helps your portfolio.
Yeah, definitely. It's a that's a weird conversation because, you know, the weirdest thing is, you know, that you get word from the grapevine that these big publishers has people that, oh yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, I watch your work. I follow it. Well, you ain't ever reached out. You ain't ever, you know, I use money to pay rent. I got children. They keep charging me rent. And you know, I'm doing fan art a lot of times of said characters. I love Storm from the X-Men, for instance. And I would, you know, I would absolutely crack a pinky. I wouldn't cut a pinky off, but I'd crack a pinky and let it heal up if they let me work on some Storm stuff. But all of the fan art and all of the stuff that I've drawn, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we see your work. Yeah, we love your stuff. Reach out. I would like to work on some." But again, every job I've ever got through my portfolio, I believe the reason I got the jobs I've gotten in the industry, because I draw from a place of, you know, I'm a huge fan first, so fan art. The reason I've gotten every single job, I'm drawing what, number one, I don't see sometimes. That's what excites me as a designer or a creator. So my portfolio shows old Ninja Turtles. You know, they're not teenagers obviously anymore. I grew up with the Ninja Turtles. They've been teenagers for 30 plus years, and I'm like, let them grow up. You know, so they got, you know, gray hair, and they you know, look like they're weathered, and so to speak. But I got Popeye as a job, I guess the opportunity, because I just did a fan fiction of Popeye and Dragon Ball Z crossed over, and Goku and Popeye are, you know, kind of just laughing after a fight. You know, everything's torn up and all that. But that took 2 years, granted. But the people that own the rights to Popeye was like, "Hey, yeah, we saw your fan fiction that you did." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Hey, we'd like you to do 10 pages in your style because we like your depiction of Popeye. He's never been drawn that way." So if you're putting out a portfolio, and I tell this to young students, I just talked at a college here locally in Georgia. I'm like, you're because they asked the question, how do I make my portfolio attractive, or what should I put? I'm like, number one, put in what you're passionate about. Like, don't try to fit into what everyone else is doing. Have a voice in your portfolio, but of course, make it look professional. But at the same time, don't put anything in there that you're not passionate about, because that could be the identifier that stands out when, you know, these talent scouts are looking through thousands, like literally thousands of portfolios all throughout the week, all throughout the month. I draw Black people the way I want to see them in animation, comics, and otherwise. So my characters depict beautiful brown and Black characters. I like seeing natural hair, things like that. So that's what got me my job with Sony. That's what got me, my job with all these other, things like that. I'm waiting on Storm. Storm's coming. We're working on it. Because that's the thing where I depict Storm with all of the natural hairstyles that Marvel hasn't shown. She's a black woman. It don't matter her hair is white. She's precipitation, and you ain't know what that does to black people hair. She has natural hairstyles, blowouts, braids, dreads, all that stuff that's not in the comics. So until I find an editor that's like, you know what, we've been getting a lot of feedback about this hair stuff. Hey, there's an artist that does that specifically. So
yeah. I think for me, it has been the wide range of stuff that I've worked on. So not even just limited to comics, but prior to writing comics, I was writing about comics. So some of my cultural pieces for different websites, the podcasting angle of it all, the stuff that I've done for Prime Video before they decided to switch on over to AI. But right. Covering their shows and writing about it. And then the same thing with the different works that I've done, because it was important for my portfolio to show while I am always going to write Black women, Black characters, there's just a wealth of stories that I would just love the opportunity to tell. So doing something like a Street Sharks or My Little Pony is really cool to me because it shows that, hey, like, if you give me a chance, I can do something with whatever this material is. So yeah, and I feel like that's helped me get a lot of the jobs that I have gotten. So it's just showing like the wide range of stuff that I can do.
I guess it's me. So yeah, I was gonna say a very similar answer is variety is kind of the spice of life, and also the spice of a good portfolio. If you can show that you've done a variety of different things, I think that most scouts will be impressed, especially if you've done them very well. So for me, my two most popular works at the time when I was scouting out jobs was Kimmy Cosmic, which is like a colorful space cowboy comic, and Dragon Face, which was like a deep, surreal horror book. And they were polar opposites of each other. And I think that's what kind of showed that I had a variety of skills. In addition to writing for film, television, and doing a little bit of journalism, it was just having a variety of different works that I could produce. And also, as a Black man, I very much want to write Black characters and write African characters and African American characters, but I also write different characters. The first character I wrote for Valiant was Ninjak. He's a British white guy. So, just going back to having the varieties was especially important for my portfolio. Thanks.
Oh, and I just had to add, because I forgot one. The Superman thing, like doing the 10-page Superman story where girls just want to have fun, that changed a lot, because I started noticing, like publishers that probably never would have looked at me, and they're like, hey, let's give him a chance now. And that's sad to say, but I gotta be honest there, that helped too.
Yeah, it's good to like know the perspective of like what sort of work people's eyes have been on, and like where those opportunities have led based off of the work that you all do. And kind of like expanding on that, I also wanted to ask, like whether it's for other prospective collaborators or clients, or for publishers with job opportunities, for someone who's like starting from scratch, what do you feel like are the things that like an effective portfolio highlights or that will do?
Can I ask, are we talking about art portfolios or writing portfolios, or any type of portfolio?
I would say either. For someone who is like, either if they're writing or they're doing art in any way, what do you feel like an effective portfolio would do? And you could speak from your own experience, whether you do write or art.
I'll just hop in here real quick. From my own personal experience, when I look for artists mostly. And when I'm looking for artists, one of the things I love to see for comic book art is sequential storytelling. There's a couple of different comic book artists. There's cover artists and there's kind of pinup artists, and I love those type of artists too. But for me, the sequential storytelling, if you can tell an entire story on one page or even in a couple of panels, and there's no words on that panel, then it's going to be very impressive to me that you know how to understand comic book sequential storytelling. In addition, I kind of like the in between panels, and what I mean by that is you can draw Batman jumping off of a building, punching a bad guy in the face. That's awesome. But can you draw Batman drinking some tea that's too hot and him spitting it out, or cleaning some spaghetti sauce off of his bat suit or something like that? I want to see the in between panels, the kind of B-roll type of artwork, because when I'm writing a story, you never know what type of panels I might need. So I like to see a lot of different non-action poses from artists, and I also really like to see a lot of sequential storytelling.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to say, so if you're a writer trying to put together a portfolio specifically for comics, then it would be really great to, of course, if you have any articles or any prose books that you've written, that is well and fine, but also to actually have some comic pages in there, or even some scripts would be helpful. Just so that very similar to an artist, when it comes to sequential art, we need to see how your pacing looks for a story. So you don't have to have, the 100-page epic or anything like that, but really a 1-page comic would be effective. A short script for maybe a 5 or 6-page story or something like that. But just to have that presence so that they can get an idea of what you can do. Because sometimes with the bigger two companies, when they do notice you and they bring you in, more than likely they will start you off with some type of anthology to just kind of get a feel for your voice and how you script and also how you interpret the world, but still add your voice to it, and make sure that that's clear. So have some writing there.
Yeah, and I would just say, like, whatever you're applying for or you're trying to get a job for, have an example of that. Like, as you know, we can call ourselves publishers, and so we work with a lot of different artists. And I've seen, kind of similar to what AJ is saying. It's like someone will tell you they want to be a comic artist, but I don't see any comic pages. And every artist, Marcus knows, well, you can watch his face frown up when I say this, knows how hard it is to do comic pages, right? You're doing, you could be doing, 4 to 7 images on a single page over and over again. So one of the ways that lets me know that you're really serious, because we see people that can draw a lot, but are you serious? Like, if I hire you, are you going to hit deadlines? Are you going to, be on top of what we're asking? AJ made another great point. Facial expressions are huge to me, especially if you're doing like a non-superhero kind of comic where it's like you want more personality. And so, we look for those little things. As far as writing, what I learned, and I try to tell all the whippersnappers with DC, kind of the adage is, if you can write an 8-page comic, if you can effectively tell a story in 8 pages, then they feel like you can write pretty much anything. So I always tell them, write an 8-page script. It doesn't have to be like your version of Superman. It could be anything, but write that so people can sit down and look at it. And like Steph said, like, you can see what the pacing is. We can see if your ideas are, like, kind of up to the standard we're looking for, So I always tell people, give your best example of what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be a letterer, letter a comic, like the art can be crappy or whatever, but just show, that you have a feel for placement and you understand the quote unquote rules to lettering, like that kind of stuff. So
all good stuff. Everybody said good stuff. Again, I've had the privilege of just talking to some graduating college students, so this is kind of redundant for me. I just said this like 17 times over. So if you're starting out from scratch, was the question, and you're putting the portfolio together, Don't try to recreate the wheel. There's no panel police. There is no, hey, that you took that from, issue 72 of Superman. No one's going to come after you if you're trying to show professionalism, right? And you're doing this for the first time, or you're trying to show that you have enough, self-awareness that, you don't have years of experience, but take all the notes from the professionals, apply the professionalism to your layout. You can change the art, but if it is about, oh, I'm not good at paneling yet, look at some amazing paneling, take that paneling and apply it to your portfolio, and plug in new artwork and or content, but don't recreate the wheel. You're not a pro. So look at the pros and apply that to your portfolio. In fact, look at other pros portfolios and just rip that off. Okay. Just rip that off. Stop trying to rack your brain. It's like, well, I was thinking of Google professional comic portfolio for Marvel, for DC, for Image. These professionals already have done the work as far as formatting, as far as what to show, how to, wow, this looks amazing, because a pro did it. A pro already did their portfolio. Look at that and apply those notes to your thing. You don't have to do the exact same content per se. That's what I'm saying. But it comes down to, if you're doing, let's say you're applying for Marvel, do a Spider-Man 8-pager like Greg was, or a 4-pager. I got to do a 4-pager for Marvel. And I have to be honest, I've never drawn Sam Wilson. I've seen him in movies. That character has never, I don't have any fan art for him up to that point. But as soon as it did, I went to the pros and I looked at the way they draw them, the way, all that good stuff, the costume, and I did my 4-pager for Marvel. But if you've never done that, then yeah, go to the pros, take all your notes, and granted, the content you're putting in there has to actually, hit those markers. What Greg is talking about, you're a professional editor and or scout is combing through these pages saying yes or no. Are they competent? Are they capable? You know what? This does hit the mark because of these things. They're talking about, the drawing, but drawing is top tier. If you're a comic artist, it's a show and prove. I've never graduated any college. I don't have a degree for drawing. I've never graduated from any art college because I didn't have to. No job that I've ever received. Granted, I'm not against school. I'm just telling you the truth about the industry. I've gotten every job. No one's ever said, well, oh, we'd love to hire you, but you don't have a degree. Sorry. It's a show and prove skill. If you can show that you can draw on a professional level, you understand anatomy, what Greg was talking about in terms of, facial expressions, and just, you understand. I hate drawing backgrounds, but if you understand perspective and it can be shown in a few panels, hey, do that, 4 more pages and you got a nice portfolio. But it has to actually speak professionalism from a glance. They can tell instantly because they're looking at portfolios all day. So yeah.
And I just wanted to add, just so it's clear, like as far as writing, typically like the bigger publishers, they're gonna, like the editors, they're gonna tell you do not use, like, don't write something with their property. Don't send them anything unsolicited. I feel like this is important.
Yes.
Because if you send them a script and they see it in their email, they're just going to like delete your email. And it's not because they hate you. It's because there's security and protection, on all parts they're looking for.
Weird. Yeah, that's all really helpful. And I feel like highlighting especially like the skills that you have and you want folks to like see, especially for the opportunities that you want, is really important. And kind of going off of thinking about the different shapes that a portfolio can take, especially online. I wanted to see if you all could talk about how you've decided like what your portfolio would look like or how it would be showcased exactly. When someone goes to look at your portfolio, how have you decided like how they're experiencing that?
I can, mine's easy. So I can start mine. I'm a character designer. I'm a character creator. Character is my main. I didn't know when I was like 20 something that all of the things in my portfolio was character. I was just drawing, and I finally put it in front of an actual professional. He's like, "Oh man, I love your character design portfolio." I was like, "Well, I'm an illustrator," thinking I know what I was talking about. He's like, "Well, yeah, but obviously you specialize in just character design." And he's like, character. I was like, "Is that what that's called?" Wonderful. Okay, so I'm a character designer. That was my portfolio. It still is. If you go to Instagram and scroll, you will see very little backgrounds, but you'll see tons and tons of characters. So it's still my focal point. So my portfolio highlights that. So if any character design rep or talent scout is searching my portfolio, they're looking at just that because that's what's there. I don't post pictures of food. I don't post pictures of my life. It's literally a character design portfolio for that. You can just scroll and scroll and scroll.
And you primarily use like Instagram for it?
No, it's I think Instagram is well suited for visual portfolios that you can get at a glance. I think every social media can technically work that way. I have stuff on Facebook, but Facebook allows for so much more text.
Yeah.
So Instagram at a glance, that's where I didn't want an Instagram page back in the day. I was like, "Why? I got a Facebook page," and someone finally got me on there. But now I can direct everybody to my Instagram and say, "Just scroll. You'll see what I do very, very quickly at a glance." But as far as laying it out in a portfolio, like I guess composition, those you won't see character pages or character sheets. I'm a character designer. So I just design a lot of times just the idea. And for me, I'm just posting just to get it out of my head. But if you want to get a layout for a portfolio booklet or, something online, you do want to show, do you understand character design from start to finish, which is you do the turns, you have expressions, you have different, outfits or hairstyles. Those pages and that layout is very important for a talent rep to be like, not only do they know how to draw, but they actually understand the pipeline of here's the rough idea, here's the turns, here's the finished, here's the polished version, and then presenting that online. If you're looking for those jobs, put those sheets at the forefront. So mine's easy because I really focus on that, even though I have branched out into writing. It's weird. So the fan fictions, that's my sneak into writing that I'll sneak into a Instagram post because it's short. You can't do like Facebook and do a whole book. You get a few paragraphs on Instagram, and I'll do 3 paragraphs for a fan fiction post. It's one image, but I'll write 3 paragraphs to go with the art. And that's my little, put a little spice of writing in there and be like, hey, I'm telling a story, but it's nowhere near a script. It's just me getting an idea and a concept out so people can follow it along, and it goes from there. But yeah, I would say use social media, use online. If you're trying to get that job, format your actual post so those reps can say, I understand, this person understands what they're going to be doing if we hire them. They know every facet of this pipeline. So, and then again, if you're coming out of college, you don't know this stuff. You don't know a pipeline because you haven't been hired for the job. Go look at the people that have the job, follow them on whatever site they post these things. Look, because after you finish a job in the industry, you have to then post all the stuff you did for your previous job in an effort to attract another job, because you got to keep getting work. As your projects finish, you got to get more work. So, hey, I just did this project with so-and-so and so-and-so. Look at these character sheets. Look at these characters. It doesn't matter if the project actually gets greenlit or ever sees the light of day. So long as they give you approval to share that production work, then you can put it up.
Yeah.
And if you're proud of it, then there's no reason not to. So,
yeah, for sure.
I was going to say that as a writer, you're very, very dependent upon the artists that you work with for your portfolio. You can send in scripts all day. That's great. And a lot of scouts will read them, and that's fantastic. But essentially, they want to see if you can produce a comic, because running a comic is not just writing a script. It's being able to communicate with an artist, being able to communicate with the letterer, being able to create a final product. And in my case, it's also printing, the type of paper you print, with type of colors that you utilize. So for me, I wanted to present editors with a final product, saying, hey, listen, from soup to nuts, I know how to write a comic, I know how to produce a comic, I know how to print a comic. So I took all of my different comics I had been working on independently and personally, and I compiled them into like a mini graphic novel. And I literally walked around New York Comic Con with a dozen copies of my own personal anthology. And I just ran up on editors like, this is what I did, look at this. And I think that worked well for me because I was able to insert my personality into my presentation. And I was also able to show a physical comic book as opposed to emailing somebody a PDF. I just think that it has more weight, literally has more weight when you physically present somebody with a product as opposed to emailing them a PDF. And then it's always in the follow-up. How do you follow up that interaction? Do you send emails afterwards? Do you make sure you stay in contact with whoever you met to make sure that they remember you? That was a big part of my networking strategy when initially passing out my portfolio.
I guess I could speak, they're giving great information. So I guess I could speak from the side of like, so when I'm actually hiring people, or even when people are hiring me. So like, if you're asking me to be an editor for your comic, I want to see, like, show me a comic that you've done or something so I can kind of see where you are. Show me a script, because we know that like scripts can sometimes be way different than what the final product is. But I need to be able to see, are you able to instruct an artist? Because a lot of times, like I've seen those, like people send me scripts and it's like, on this page, Joe is holding a rock. Like, nah, bruh, we need more, because if you don't give the artist more, then you're leaving it up to their interpretation. And that can create like a lot of back and forth. So, and these are things that, I had to learn over time. I also like, if you show me your portfolio and I'm like, okay, the art is dope. If it's something I want to proceed on, and this is what I try to get people to understand, the very next thing I'm going to do is say, hey, let's do a test. And that might be me giving you like 1 page of script, and I want you to draw that. It might be character design, because what we found over these very many years we've been doing this stuff is that a lot of times people will put like their absolute best stuff in their portfolio, but that stuff may have taken like a month to draw, or they might have just kept tweaking it and fine tuning it. And the only way I can see that as somebody that's going to hire you is when I actually give you money, right? Because we give money for tests. We don't ask people to do tests for free. So, and this is not to talk down, but there was a young guy I met at this convention we were at, and I liked his art, and I was like, yo, I got this idea that I want to do, and I think your art fits. So when I get back home, I'm gonna send you some stuff and send you some money and get you started on a character test. And so one of the main characters that I had was going to be like this plus size Black woman, like 5'10", 215 pounds. I sent him actual, and I don't know if Marcus remembers this, but I sent him like actual references, like real humans, like this is what she's made like. And she kept coming back like 5'6", 112 pounds, And so I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing, but this is how I need her to look. And he couldn't do it. Like we went back like 5 iterations. And I said, you know what, man? Thank you for your time, but I'm probably going to have to move on. And the whole time I'm like, Marcus, why can't, like Marcus, I came up with him. I watched Marcus. He draws what he sees, Some people, they practice drawing superheroes their whole lives, and so it's foreign to them. It's like they can't get their wrist to work. But the only way I'm going to see that stuff is when I give you a test. So I try to tell people, make sure that whatever you have in your portfolio is the stuff that you can live up to, and it's the stuff that you could recreate in a timely manner. I typically, to start off, because there's a big trust system being built here, I don't know you and I'm about to hire you, for a job. So I typically start off, I say, you tell me how long it's going to take. Like I got a guy that's doing character designs for Bridges right now, and I was like, tell me how long it's gonna take per character, and then I'm gonna be quiet and I'm just gonna sit back and see if you hit those deadlines. Because if you hit those deadlines, then you're probably gonna hit page deadlines too. So I guess I'm saying this to say portfolio is cool, but make sure you're ready to back up whatever you're putting in your portfolio.
Anything else?
Oh,
Um,
y'all said it all.
uh,
Awesome.
I was going to say one thing when you're evaluating a portfolio,
Mhm.
it's some of the issues that I found is some artists they might be really good at just like you said at one style but not good at other styles, and oftentimes when I've hired artists and their artwork looks completely different than their portfolio.
Mm.
So you have to just like it is a risk when you hire someone, and also nowadays there's a lot of AI scammers out there, and
Mm.
that's a new issue that I've kind of come across where
Mhm.
the places that I used to find artists, I have to be careful now because there's a lot of people just putting AI stuff up there and trying to convince you that they drew it. So that's just something to be careful about in this modern age, is just weeding through all the people who are trying to send you AI slop as portfolios.
Yeah, I'm literally finishing up the artist alley for the convention for Black Atlanta Comic Expo, and the first question I'm asking in there is any of your art, your writing, anything created in AI? And everybody says no, and I just been going through like, you're a lie. You a lie. It's a lie. So and I know sometimes I have to lean on some of my artist friends like Marcus to be like, yo, is this real? Nah, dog, that's not real. So but yeah, they're out there.
No, that's such a good point of like, even like as someone who's looking out at like prospective like collaborators and stuff, like that these are things that you're looking at and paying attention to. Um, is there like anything else that you would say that maybe like newer creators like overlook or don't think about when they're developing a portfolio? I feel like it's a really good point as far as like what you said, Greg, is like bringing up to artists like, oh, like how long does it take you to do things like this? But yeah, is there anything that you would say like maybe newer creators might overlook often when they're developing a portfolio of their work?
I'm not the only artist on the thing, right? Everybody's writer.
I mean, I'm an artist too with stick figures.
You right. You right. Okay.
Watch your tone now. Watch your tone.
Right.
I could draw
Uh,
some blinds.
there you go. There you go. All right. So I'll get my art. I'll get the art out the way.
Art perspective, yes.
Right. Art perspective out the way. So this is something that's really important. A lot of people get this wrong. I did when I was young because I thought the people that I'm showing this to wants to see everything that I draw, all the styles. Now, if you're doing an illustrative portfolio, okay, an illustrator is someone that can actually do. Can you draw Scooby-Doo? Can you draw Dexter's Laboratory? Can you draw Mickey Mouse? Can you draw Ninja Turtles? Can you draw Sailor Moon? An illustrator is a type of artist that if given a challenge or given a job can technically say yes. They are the jack of all trades. An illustrator can do art of all kinds. You have artists that cannot perform that way. They have a style. Their style is amazing. They can't change that style. No matter how much you throw money at them, if they draw in this dark, gritty style, they cannot switch to Disney because it's not in their skill set to do so. But in your portfolio of where you're trying to get a job, do not show everything. Pick the actual job that you're going for. No more than 2 skills. I just talked to a student. He wants to do character design and backgrounds. I'm like, okay, now this one actually correlates because you can draw a background for your character and say I did both of those. But he wanted to split his portfolio into 2 sections, character design and backgrounds. I said, you can, however, you only get about a good 5 pieces of attention in most cases, unless you're just insanely good, right? Coming out, you're no years of experience and you're just insanely amazing, you may get somebody to look through your entire 10 pages of your portfolio or whatever. But most times you got about 5 pages if you're lucky. So I said, pick the one that you are most passionate. And he said, I like both. I was like, that's not what I asked you. I said, pick the one that you are most passionate. If you get this job, you're going to do that month after month after month, week after week, day after day. That's the one that you put. You can separate your portfolios. You can apply twice. Just pick one that you're most passionate about and make that your star of your portfolio. If it's character design, do a character design portfolio. If it's background art, then do a background art portfolio, and then do it for that industry. I don't draw the same way for comics that I do for animation. They're two different distinct styles. Animation doesn't need all of that detail. It actually tells you to simplify. So I can switch my style based on which industry I'm going into. Popeye is it's weird because I'm combining what I know about how Popeye the Sailor Man looks in animation, and then I had to make an action comic. So I got to kind of do this weird mutation thing. So my design for Popeye was this amalgamation of two different worlds, animation and comic. So everything I pitched for them, all the characters, they were a mixture. Olive didn't look like the Olive from animation. She looked like Olive from animation and comic. So make your portfolio sing to the job you're actually applying for. If in doubt, go to Google and just really, really digest how many portfolios of the people that worked on Demon Hunter. K-pop Demon Hunter. Demon Slayer, I'm sorry. Look at the artists in the credits. Go find them. And then look up their social media, find them somehow. I guarantee you they've posted their work at this point, and look at their portfolio from the work they did on those shows. If that's your reference to say, I want to do that, go find those people, scour their portfolios, and then pick and choose something that sings to the format and your style and your strengths. That's what you want to put in your portfolio. It's a real easy hurdle to trip over, because you're like, I can do everything you tell me to do, just throw in money, give me the job. And the people are like, I just need a background artist. Can you do that? Don't show a dog portrait in a background art portfolio. That's all.
No, that's such a good point to include specifically the things that people are asking for, and not try to don't stick to the rivers and lakes you're used to, for
Correct.
sure.
Yeah, the same goes for writing.
The TLC reference, I love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But to Marcus's point, the same goes for writing. Don't, if you're at a convention or something like that, don't, in an editor, or you're just talking to other writers and artists, don't show them a screenplay. You're at a comic convention. That's not necessarily helpful, because while they might look the same on the surface, it's two very different things. Same thing if you write prose, that's great, but that's not the same thing as writing comics. So apply for the job that you actually want, and don't use the other material for the thing that maybe you actually do want but you just couldn't get. So you don't want to come off as seeming as though you're just doing comics to do comics until something else comes along. But sometimes it works for people.
I guess I would come again, because everybody's covering really good stuff. I would come from a little bit of a different angle. So when I was in corporate America, being miserable, I would volunteer, and we would have people from shelters that would come, and we would teach them how to build resumes and teach them how to interview, all that kind of stuff. And one thing I always used to tell people is, when you walk up, and so we'll take it to comics, right? When you walk up to that editor, there's 5 million people trying to kiss that editor's butt to get a job. The thing that you can see, because we see it, people come to us all the time, hey, here's my portfolio stuff. And we can see right away, if you're being genuine, or if you're, just trying to say all the right stuff, I just tell people, try to be yourself. Because I'm not hiring you because you got a perky attitude. Or, and a lot of times we can tell, oh, this is a butt kisser. Hey guys, we would love to, make your comic and animated series. We're ready to give you guys $5,000. Like we've had stuff like that happen in our lives. So we see it so much that we can almost tell when you're walking up, like, watch out for this one, So just be yourself. Try to let your, whatever you're doing, let that talent speak for you. And be receptive to the words that are actually coming out of their mouth, right? Because way more people are going to get told no in this business than people are going to get told yes. You're going to get way more no's. You got to be strong about it. Like, I love going through the DC process. The editors was like, no, man, email me. If I don't respond, do not take it personally. But, whenever you come up with something, whatever, just try to stay in contact. Because it's really, the business is, I don't want to say it's cold. It's just like, it's a tough business. And like anybody that tells you it's like all just, perfect and easy and you're going to get rich, like, no. I mean, definitely is sitting in the danger room right now. So, somebody might be. But overall, it's a grind. And those editors, they're working, like some of them, they're working on 10, 15 different books that are coming out in like a month or a 2-month span. So they don't have time always. But just be yourself and be persistent. I like what AJ said. That's, stuff to take away from this panel, which is like, you meet somebody, how are you going to follow up with them? How are you going to stay on their mind? But doing it in a way to where you don't feel like you're you're damaging your own dignity. It's like you still feel like you have control of this process. So it's a lot, but just be yourself, and really, really be confident in your work, because the flip side of it is we see a lot, like, I'll throw this out. I'm not going to say, like, we've seen so many times where we're at a table and somebody looks at Marcus's art and they're like, oh yeah, my son, he's in the 7th grade. He draws just like this. And we're like, oh, really?
That's what's up.
Marcus is super humble. He does just that. Like, oh, that's cool.
That's good.
Like, you lying, Miss Ginger. And then, like, sometimes they show us the art and it's like worse than my art. And so it's like you have to, really be honest with yourself and be honest with where you are in the process. Because, like AJ said, you send me your portfolio, I'm like, oh, we about to roll. And then your art comes out looking like mine. And then it's like, there's a gap here. And now you're hurting yourself in the process.
That brings up a good point. And I know we got to finish, but something that happened in between me and Greg and an artist who absolutely is skilled enough to do comics. He had just never done comics, right? And so I'm over here championing. I'm like, bruh, you really, you haven't done? And I'm looking at his art. I'm looking at his portfolio online, all of his character art. I'm like, you're nuts. I said, this is just like, you're doing comics already. Like, you just got to put it in a panel. But he wasn't confident about that. So he gets started on a test and he starts imploding confidence wise. And he's like, you know what, man, I just don't feel. And I'm like, yo, calm down. It's all right. It's okay. I can help you with the layouts. Don't worry about it. And he literally backed out. He was like, you know what? I just don't feel like I'm ready. And I'm like, I can't force you to be ready. But it was really, really disheartening, because I'm like, you're there, you got the skill, but when Greg is like, be yourself, like you want this job enough to go and pitch it to strangers, you know what I mean? And you've been dreaming about it. This has been your goal. This is your passion. Like, it gets scary for people that have been in the industry for years. I've been drawing for over 2 decades, man, and I don't think I'll ever not get, a little bit of, imposter syndrome. Like, all right, listen, is this okay? And then you get that confirmation that, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing. All right, good. They liked it. But there's still that hesitation on the first week of the project. You know, you're surrounded by talented people. I'm sharing like, I would never want to do your job. That's amazing. It's fantastic. And then the first bit of critique, some artists and some creatives, they fold inward like, I knew I wasn't good. You know what? I'm gonna just quit. And I could not force him to like stick with it. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna just back out. I'm sorry, you guys, for this. I'm like, you ain't wasting nobody's time, brother. You good?
You're looking like
he was really good.
Yeah.
And couldn't get him back.
Like I can speak for like me and Marcus. Like we want to help you. We want to show you all this. Can I say shit? We want to show you all this shit.
They'll edit it out if not.
We want to show you all, like how to evade all the stuff that we've been through. That's like a personal mission that me and this man have verbally, like we've spoken it to each other, that if we can be like, we can help people not have to get paid, you know, in velour sweatsuits or incense or some of the junk.
They may not understand that reference. Y'all gotta come to one of our panels and we'll explain that reference. I got paid in the velour suit once, y'all.
He did. A velour sweatsuit. I was like, "Did you get the money?" And then he came to my house and he had like a velour sweatsuit, and I was like, how your kids gonna eat off of that, big dog? But the point is, like, we want to help people. Like, that's really our mission. So that one was disheartening. And then I'll flip it because we found another dude who was just character design, like crazy, like Marcus said. And we was like, you know, would you be interested in, you know, doing a test for a comic? And he's like, sure. And so like I wrote out the page. Marcus actually gave like a rough outline, like a rough thumbnail, so he could kind of follow that. And he knocked that out the park. And then we were actually like trying to like kind of bring him along slowly. So it's like Marcus is gonna do the thumbnails. And I think like after the third page, he was like, can I just give it a shot? And it's like, sure. And then he's just like blowing it out the water. And like he actually came in and undersold himself.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, and he's like, I never really have done sequential art, but I'd love to try. And then we see his imagination. We see his, you know, like he's changing angles on shots and stuff like that. So sometimes it's cool to kind of, you know, don't try to oversell yourself. Just let your art speak for itself, and then, you know, show and prove. Because I know, probably talking a lot, but another thing that I've heard over and over in comics is like when they're looking, especially for artists, they're not like, the first thing is, can you make deadlines? That's the first important thing. The second thing is, are you easy to work with? And the third thing is, are you good? So it doesn't matter how pretty your art is. If you can't do those first two things, you're probably going to struggle to keep jobs.
You can be the reverse of that order is you can be fantastic as an artist, but you could be slow. Or you could be fantastic as an artist and you did one little bitty critique like, hey, I'm sorry, you forgot the little ears on Batman, and you blow up and you go nuclear. And hey, man, all I asked you to do is put the pointy ears back on Batman. Can't work with you, dog. You call my wife names. You said right? But you could be fantastic and not meet a deadline, and the book doesn't come out because of that, or they have to pivot and hire somebody else. It's all these things. So that order that Greg just said is, in fact, why there's Marvel artists that are not the best artists, but they meet the deadlines. They're easy to work with, and they're decent enough to do some art. So
they get the work done. Yeah,
it's true.
For the sake of time, I'm going to ask one more question. And I feel like you all have already given a lot of really great like advice and resources. So I was actually thinking about just jumping off of this last part of the conversation, but I feel like going into kind of like confidence and really just like showing growth in your work. I wanted to ask you all, like in your experience with your work and maybe also looking at other folks, how do you feel like a your portfolio has like shown like the growth and progression of your skills. Like how do you do that in your portfolio, and how do you feel like, because I feel like some folks like they don't feel confident in like showing maybe like older things, or like they wait to put things out until they feel like it's like, you know, pristine or whatever. But yeah, like how have you kind of like in building your portfolio showcase the way that you've grown as a writer or an artist?
I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna jump real quick. Oh no, go ahead. You first.
Oh no, you go, AJ.
Go ahead, AJ. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So sorry. I'm just being so rude on this call. My camera off and everything. Trying not to get
You're good.
fined by the daycare. But I was just gonna say, it's just the longer you work, the longer you are in this business, the fatter your portfolio will become. The more works you create, the more you have to pick from. So now when I compile my portfolio, I have, you know, a couple dozen indie comics I've produced and a few dozen mainstream comics I've produced of varying genres. I've worked with a whole bunch of different artists, so I can pick and choose what I like the most. And I'll find scenes. I usually like to try to grab like a 4-page scene that's really powerful, or something that's something that has really good artwork. Once again, I benefit from the artist. So if I work with a dynamic artist, it makes my writing look better. So essentially, I just try to pick and choose my best picks. And to answer your question, the longer you work, the more you're going to have to choose from to build your portfolio.
Yeah, I was in New York Comic Con. I was picking David Walker's brain because he's my sensei, even though he tells me, "You're dope, shut up." So I'm asking David, I'm like, I'm trying to get into some of these publishers. What am I supposed to send them? And he looks at my table and he says some cuss words because, you know, David be getting after it. But he's like, bro, you have like a 6-foot table that's covered with books, different books that you've done. He said, that's your portfolio. Give them the list of books if they need to see, you know, like some stuff. Because, you know, if you send them stuff that's already been published, you know, it's safer for them to open it up. But he's like, you know, he said, he told me, he's like, at this point, they should be like begging you to work for them. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not in that circle. Like, I come up with stuff and then I'd be like, I'm just going to do this myself. You know, I just post it myself. So trying to get into that circle is the thing. But as far as like my work, like we have the first comic book that Marcus and I created together 25 years ago. We'll have that on the table. Like I have that, you know, in PDF if anybody wants to see like growth. And I think it's important. For a long time, Marcus was like, I don't want nobody to see it because, you know, his art is so much different now. But at the time, that art was great. I don't care what nobody says. But he's just grown so much. But it's a good way for us to show, because we talk to a lot of kids and, you know, people that are trying to get into this, and we can be like, yo, this was us 25 years ago. We always tell the story. I probably told the story on the previous panel for this
Yeah.
about didn't I? About us, you know, like making this comic and printing it at campus. You know, so it's like we can tell everybody like you don't have to be perfect when you start. You're not going to be perfect. And you're not going to be perfect when you're in here for 25 years. And anybody that tells you, like, I always laugh because the greatest writers that I know, you'll never see them online trashing anybody. Everybody knows how hard this stuff is. Everybody knows you can make something dope and it still might not pop with the people, you know? So it's good to be able to show like the different, you know, stages that you've been in. And our work does that for us.
That's definitely. I'm gonna go last with the art.
Oh, gotcha. I was gonna say just real quick that your portfolio is also for you. So it's not just for everyone else, it's for you, so that when imposter syndrome or whatever pops up, you can look at everything you've done over the years or however long that time has been and see the growth there. So that's just a nice way to look and say, oh, well, like I've been doing it. I've been getting better. So like that is your rule of measure, and just a reminder of, you know, why you're in this and why you're doing it. Because you enjoy it, and it shows in you loving what you've done from the beginning to where you are presently and where you'll be in the future.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Right. I was like, I hit the hot key and it didn't work that time. I'm sorry. No, I think that's where I was gonna start, Stephanie, which is if anybody follows my work, you'll see that I know how to be popular online, which is just draw cute and attractive female characters. I know that. But like I said, I draw old Ninja Turtles. I draw whatever I feel like drawing. I feed my need to be creative first. So my portfolio, if you go all the way back, and I had to show this to somebody up at the people that work at Popeye. I was like, I drew this back in, I don't know, 2000 something, but it was Popeye fighting Akuma from Street Fighter, right? And it was just rough sketch. I posted it on Facebook years ago. It got like 32 likes, right? But I was still doing the same stuff back then, right? My skill has absolutely, jumped. And the reason I can say that confidently is like, if you see, this is my art on this shirt. If you see in any of my art where I'm using like these very vivid pinks or fuchsias and greens and purples, I've never used those colors. Like I had to force my brain to use that because I follow digital artists and colorists and I hate coloring, right? And so I've studied all of these other juggernauts online and trying to really, really push my actual art and my skill up. I'm like, why are you using, pink? And I don't see pink on a daily basis, but I try to put in, like Greg said earlier, I draw what I see, but looking at vivid color and all these different artists really pushing their art, with the lighting and this, you can scroll back and you'll see similar drawing style, but the colors are muted. They're very monotone, or they're just not I'm not using any of these colors. So what Greg was talking about, listen, he consulted me and said, hey man, do you think we should? I said, no. Nah, don't nobody want to see that, man. Let's just do it over. Right. Because I have that thing where I'm like, yuck. That's when I started first playing with Photoshop. So back then, the year 2000, 2001, I was just getting, and you can see it because you can see some old school Photoshop patterns in the background, brick patterns. It looked terrible to me. All right. And it worked for the time because that's the best I could do. Mm-hmm. But if I were to do it over today, it would be leaps and bounds better because I've improved and understand, my skill and stuff. But
it's spectacular.
It's character design, anatomy, everything. I've been drawing for 20 plus years since that point. So it's like looking back at your work, you're going to always cringe. You're going to try to say, all right, don't read that one. Don't look at that one. Look at this one because I did this one last week. But there is a lot to learn. And there's a lot to actually say about your actual growth. If you're brave enough, to show it in any setting and professionally, it could actually really showcase that you're a learning artist or a learning creative. So, do it with consideration. Put your best foot forward always. But in those cases, that's natural, man. You're gonna improve if you do anything for 10 years plus. You're gonna improve. So, I've seen it in my work, and I've found stuff from old, and I'm like, why didn't I finish this? This is dope, and it's just hiding on my hard drive, just sitting there chilling. I'm like, what? This is great. And I try to cobble it into something presentable. So I would say, yeah, definitely use your strengths, but don't be afraid to show growth at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I feel like that just feels so inspiring to me. And hopefully for anyone else who, might be like afraid of showing things that are like a work in progress or whatnot. But thank you all for sharing how to be better equipped with a good portfolio. I feel like all of this information will be really helpful for anyone interested in like just starting out with sharing their work. Before we go, can you all remind everyone where they can find you and where they can find your work?
Stephanie, I want to do a cover for Street Sharks and other stuff.
Ooh. We're gonna talk because
I'm just saying. I just want to throw that in there.
No. Well, no,
You
but
know.
Yeah,
we're
we
gonna
get
talk
begging
because I
for
got.
jobs.
I'm just saying. I
No.
play with the toys.
You got
back in
sugar
the day.
chat.
That
Like
was
you
good.
I got
That was good.
I got
You know what I'm
something.
saying?
Actually, Marcus, I got something much more. Wow, I sound like my
I'm down.
son.
I'm down
And
for
better
all that.
alignment. Just don't worry. But I got you. We will talk.
Yeah.
'Cause we
Okay,
got
good.
news
Good, good.
today, and I'm
All right.
putting together a list of Avenger artists for this
Come on now.
theme
Come on
because
now.
I want it as black as it can be.
Say it. Say
But
it to the universe. I love it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. But you can find me on Instagram, Threads, at Steph_I_Will. And definitely check that out because I got some announcements coming up, and hopefully with Marcus on the cover of one of those very big announcements.
Come on. Take Cash App. I take Zelle. No, just go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna pass it to AJ since you look like you want to move.
AJ Ampadu. You can follow me everywhere. Earthtone_Kingdom. My website is earthtoneking.com. Probably hear my baby crying in the background. Shout out to everybody in this panel. You guys are amazing. I'm huge fans of everyone's work, and I'm super inspired by you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
Mine's gonna be long.
Marcus,
Great.
great.
Find our stuff at TuskegeeAirs.com. On Instagram, I'm Greg_Burnham7. By the time this comes out, the website will be up for Black Atlanta Comic Expo. Which Stephanie and Marcus are going to be guests, as well as Joe Illidge, and we got like a really nice guest list. So that's going to be happening in October. So I'm going to need y'all to go there and buy tickets and whatnot. Where else, Marcus? Where else? Other places. The Search for Sadaka is on Amazon and a lot of other places. I need y'all to buy this book so they can let me do the next book. Stephanie didn't mention, but you can find us in San Diego, hopefully.
Oh, yes.
At the Eisner Awards, because Stephanie got nominated for 2, right?
Yes, sir.
2 awards? Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
I got nominated for 1. So
nice. Wait, does that mean I get to go? I did some art in there. How does it work? I didn't get no email.
You didn't do art in this particular book.
You know what?
But
I'm joking.
I don't care. But yeah, so that too. So yeah.
Dope. Mine's easy. What Greg said about Tuskegee Airs, and that's Airs, Heirs. We've heard so many iterations of Tuskegee Heroes, Hires, Tuskegee Hires,
Heretics.
For my art, it's just Marcus, the visual. You can go to Instagram, Facebook, X, other things, all those things. Yeah, or .com. But I definitely say we do a lot of shows. We go to a lot of conventions. MomoCon is coming up next week. Here in Atlanta. We're going to be at DreamCon and all that good stuff. So if you guys are going to be attending, come find us in Artist Alley. We'll be out there.
Awesome.
I'm ready.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm Bria Struthers, also B, the letter B, the orator on social media. Thank you for joining us again today for our Building Portfolio panel. Hopefully it was very helpful for anyone watching. And be sure to check out other amazing programming from ink&panels too. Bye.
Deuces. Thank you.
It doesn't overwhelm the reader, it doesn't do too much, and it's something that with each installment of the series, you kind of see the world expand and expand and expand and expand.
I implemented some of the more traditional comic book script writing in with it to make it easier for the artist to understand.
My ideas are born out of either something that I am just either researching and then I've gotten like really stuck on it and I've gone down this rabbit hole.
Building that world that for people to be able to immerse themselves in, right?
I want to get into the field, and next thing I know, next time I see them, that same convention next year, they got a book that they want to show me.
And so I think the big thing about us was we were on the same page about how we wanted to do it and how we could do it effectively, and it just worked for us.
It's just crazy the feeling that you get when you make that connection And my fellow comic book creators know, like when somebody comes to your table and tells you that they really like your story.
Ink&Panels.
Ink&Panels Volume 2.
Ink and Panels Volume 2.
It's called Ink&Panels Volume 2.